Hey, welcome on in, guys. Tobin here with you, and thanks for checking out the channel. Hope you're doing well there. If you guys could subscribe, that'd be great. Appreciate you stopping by. As the Miami Dolphins, they started off training camp today. Not fantastic with the injury news. Artie Burns is officially feared to have an ACL tear. First day, some of the first drills, according to reporters, that he got hurt. People said they saw him leave on crutches. Adam Schefter reports feared torn ACL. So that is a bummer for a guy coming in here, Miami Hurricanes alum, and now is already a depleted secondary. Already feels like it has taken another blow to the cornerback position. So we'll see. There's been some talk that the Miami Dolphins are going to sign somebody. You'd imagine that this would up the urgency on that, but the word isn't official yet. The other scary thing that happened today was Bayron Matos, one of the linemen, plays for from the Dominican Republic. Moose, giant, 6'7", 6'8". Didn't play for the Dolphins last year, but was in camp and is was hopeful, I guess, maybe that he was going to add to the depth this year. He had to get airlifted after practice, and so that's a pretty scary thing. The Dolphins have a facility, like a little medical facility on grounds, so the fact that they had to airlift him is a pretty scary situation. There was some stuff on Twitter that maybe he lost some feeling. I don't want to get into all the details without knowing all of them, but you're just praying, you're hoping that that's the best. But obviously, to start camp with that news, the news that Liam Eichenberg, jokes aside, you guys know that I'm no big fan, but he's out for a multiple week injury, so you're hopeful that I guess he's going to be okay, but he is not ready to rock. James Daniels apparently had some false startage going on, according to reports there, but did some work with the team, didn't start off on any injured list. They didn't work him out through the whole practice. He did some conditioning as well. But that, I guess, is the lone piece of good news for the Miami Dolphins offensive line. But I would say the monster headline that came out of today is definitely going to be Tua. Tua spoke after practice today. Everything was way earlier today, too. That was another thing, which Mike McDaniel was – I didn't really get his explanation of it. He could do it in his Mike McDaniel scenic route way of using words, where he was like, first he said traffic, which – is a reason, especially if you're coming from the south where the Miami Dolphins facility is. If you're coming from the north, they're kind of right before the death zone, which is right past the stadium when you have to get onto 95 on the Golden Glades. It's a complete disaster right now. They're trying to redo all of it. It was already a disaster, but now they're trying to really squeeze everybody in without that rude cutoff situation. So nobody's used to it. I'm usually taking the scenic route to work because my studio is right down there for the radio show, which, by the way, you guys could also subscribe. Check us out there. Live every single day, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. But they made practices earlier, so all the media, he spoke at 8 o'clock today. Tua was already talking by 10:30, 11 today. It was crazy. It was man, everything's all right. Everybody's already done. And so that was an interesting wrinkle into things. But I would say over the last couple of days, the biggest thing, other than Minkah Fitzpatrick making his debut, he has not spoken to the media yet. Reporters keep saying they're told that he's going to talk this week. I don't know if there's anything to that or whatnot, but it seems like Mike McDaniel says Minkah Fitzpatrick, good to go, feels revving and rared up to be a Miami Dolphin. So that's all good news. But from my standpoint with the Miami Dolphins, I think for Minkah Fitzpatrick, Tua said today that he and Minkah had some lunch, I guess a couple of days before camp started off. You got to imagine that they, by the time the salads got there, they were mother bleeping Brian Flores together. I'm sure they had a grand old time talking, hey, who was a bigger jerk, Nick Saban or Brian Flores? And they both agree Brian Flores, and they laugh over it. Some croutons are spilled. It's all fantastic. But the big story today that probably came out of it was Tyreek Hill. And Tyreek Hill's, status with the team. Because Tyreek Hill yesterday, he said something to the effect of, I would like to see what I would be like if I put 100% of my focus onto football. How good could I be? And I kind of just I was like, I don't know, dude. You've already almost flirted with 2,000 yards. If this wasn't focused, I don't know. If you're telling me there's another level of Tyreek Hill healthy, I would be pretty surprised by that. But go say whatever it is. I'm glad that you feel that you're more focused on football. I think Tua spoke really well to what Tyreek Hill said today, because it really is. I think Tyreek Hill's lost a lot of the benefit of the doubt with his words, which is a shame, but it just is what it is right now. I think a lot of the fan base is honestly tired of the yakking all over the place. They just want to see a lot of winning, but I think Tua did put it well today, and he did it on a couple of fronts where he said that, and the second part of this is going to get the headlines, but I thought that he really handled all of the Tyreek Hill stuff well, because he did say on the front end that he has seen a different Tyreek Hill this offseason, that he has seen a guy who is more vulnerable, is the word Tua used.
I think there's a lot more vulnerability with Tyreek. He's conversating a lot more with the guys, not just about football, but about things off the field, being vulnerable with some of the things that, people know about his personal life and things of that nature. And I think that's the first step to him building true relationships and a real connection with a lot of the guys in there. Everyone knows what he can do on the field. Everyone respects what he can do on the field. But I think, he's still trying to figure things out for himself as well, kind of the man he wants to be. And he's not too young. Like, everybody makes mistakes. It's just some people, they're in the spotlight, and their deals get pushed out more than some others. So, just got to cut him some grace. I mean, that's our teammate. We love him, but as a person, if you get to know him, I think you love him too.
So, I don't think that's making the rounds as much as, what's going to be the thing that is making the headlines, which I understand. I understand why. As a person who's in the media, I understand why the other part wasn't. But I did think that was a pretty awesome answer from Tua, where he's like, hey, he is different this year. Maybe, has acted with a bit of a persona, maybe kind of a dickish attitude where it's like, I'm the cheetah. You guys know me. I'm going to show up. I'm going to ball out. But obviously, look, all of Cheetah's public stuff is in the light. We know that he's going through a very public divorce. We know the unfortunate altercation or incident that happened, that was called in at his apartment this year by his mother-in-law, and that then subsequently seemed to lead to a very public divorce. So, and this is the second time that there had been basically a public divorce that then got taken back a year ago. So it is interesting to hear Tua, kind of give to, Tyreek some props of hey, maybe he really is growing and giving some semblance of a person that seems to be learning from some of this stuff. But I do think Tua made the bigger point probably after this about look, it is still got some work to do. And I think that was my biggest takeaway from Tyreek yesterday. It's yeah, it's good to say that you're all the way focused, but my initial reaction was, I want to see what he acts like if the Dolphins lose a couple in a row. I want to see what he acts like if he doesn't get off and maybe Jalen Waddle gets more balls. I want to see what he acts like if it's not going all the way towards Tyreek Hill, all the way towards Tyreek 2K. I want to see what that's like, and then I'll believe the whole, I've changed, I've been a better teammate. And I think that was... So while I think Tua put it in a great spot of hey, this guy does seem like he's trying to actually, the fact that he's saying to get to know his teammates a little bit more, not bolt and go be at your mall business or bolt and go be part of whatever the hell other side quests that the Cheetah's on, that he actually seems to be around the facility a lot, that he did have to rehab an injury. So maybe that gave him some time. Also, when you are going through some personal turmoil, sometimes work can be the best escape for you. So I don't doubt that there can be some benefit of, hey, this can be a place where he feels more comfortable. He doesn't have the stresses because it's just, we already know he's one of the best guys to do this in the league. Everybody knows it. He was ranked number 1 a year ago. We all know Tyreek Hill is friggin' incredible. But there just has to be a level of hey, man, but can you be a guy trusted in adversity? And so I think that was to his bigger point the next time around, because that was the one that kind of made all the headlines today.
Sure. I would say we're still continuing to do that. But it's not just with me. It's with a lot of the guys. I'm not the only one that heard that. You guys aren't the only people that heard that. You know, a lot of people that follow football, that follow the Miami Dolphins, that follow Tyreek, that are fans of his. You know, everyone has seen that. So when you say something like that, you don't just come back from that with, hey, my bad. You know, you got to work that relationship up. You got to build everything up again. And yeah, that it's still a work in progress, not just for me, but for everybody. But you know, like I said, he's working on himself. He's working on the things that he says he wants to get better with and do better on. So that's the first step to me, and so I commend him for doing that.
You know, people talk about Tua's leadership, and certainly like Tua, I think is a you know, almost a filter to be super honest, and he's going to say what's on his heart a lot of the time. I thought that he nailed all that. I really do. I mean, you know, for all the talk of, you know, this guy can't lead, can he be the face of our franchise? I thought as a human, and I think as the leader of the team and the face of the franchise, I thought that situation was all handled perfectly, especially with both parts. Like, hey, and I know that when we're going to go to First Take tomorrow, all the headlines are going to be, hey, Tua, it's going to say Tua, Tyreek still has work to do. But I mean, I hope that people realize, like, hey, he put a lot of thought into this. He's like giving you, in an 8-minute session, he's giving you about 25% of this on how much growth there has been with Tyreek, with just the blurb of he's got still work to do, which is true. I think everybody acknowledges that he is he is going to be in one of these spots where the fans, the team, the coach, the GM, they're not parting with him because they do know how important he is to winning. And I kind of feel like they felt like, hey, this is kind of a sunk cost. We need to make Tyreek Hill work. The Jalen Ramsey thing already isn't. And especially after there was more baggage that was exposed during the offseason. So the Dolphins and Tyreek, for better or worse, are with each other this year. And at least until Tyreek, I guess, has a couple of games, and if they feel like, oh, they could flip him to somebody else, and he's somebody else's problem before it becomes a headache again. But ultimately, Mike McDaniel, Tua Tagovailoa know that if this guy is right, one of the best football players, one of the best weapons in the league, bar none. There's no debate about it. I am not a believer that Tyreek Hill is washed. I think he did play hurt last year. The quarterbacks that played with Tua, that played when Tua was hurt, were god-awful. And the guy and the play caller called games a little scared. Like, I think that all of those things factored into Tyreek Hill not being the guy that he was. You know, and I think that's a Molotov cocktail of how do you go from record-breaking to not cracking 1,000. It was all there for the Dolphins. I still think that guy's there. But I do think the Dolphins need to still be at it with an arm's length, because this is going to be a very, very sensitive season. Fans are pissed. Everybody knows that I think jobs are on the line, and they have a crazy 4-game stretch with 3 divisional opponents. That's going to feel like the season is going to have a temperament from those right off the bat. And maybe it could be really awesome, and the Dolphins can be out and get out to a 3-1 start and feel awesome about it, and that'll certainly ease tensions and get them in a better place. But as far as handling whatever was left and ramifications that were left going in as we start to ease into football, yeah, I thought Tua said it well, said it perfectly, and hopefully everything is going to be off on the right foot and stay on the right foot for the Dolphins and their star receiver.